So note 6 is factoring quadratics where a is not equal to 1. And we've only done it where a was 1. In other words, your leading coefficient was 1. Generally, you factor based on c. You find the factors of c that when multiplied make c, but when are added make b. You will now also have to deal with the value of a. This will complicate things as you will need to find the right combinations for factors of a and c that will produce b when you add them together. Lord have mercy, huh? Okay. How many had any issues with yesterday's work? You had issues? A couple. All right. Because I didn't see anybody in here early this morning, and I only got one phone call home. And we all know who calls me at home, but that's okay. All right. It's not a bad thing to call me at home and ask. All right. And the other thing is you've got to remember kind of your tutorial time is at 7 a.m. on. Okay. And that's why I'm always here early, and Damien will attest to that. Most of the time he's standing out there. And I'm already here. But in the afternoons, I know I haven't been seeing a lot of 8th graders lately, but I also have meetings and things happen, so it's easier to get to me in the mornings for you guys than any other time. Or you can call me at home, okay? I can walk you through it. I didn't even have my sheet last night, and I walked somebody through something, okay? And he actually figured out what he did wrong just by when we were talking, right? Okay? So.
What? Like, okay. One of my problems I'm missing.
I think I'm on speed dial.
I'm still looking at him because he said it, and well, at least they
okay? All right? So, that's okay. I encourage that. It's all right. Have I ever made you feel bad for calling me? No? Okay.
Yeah.
All right?
I'm going to call you 2 a.m. in the morning. What?
Now, it does say on that sheet
before
9 p.m. Because I am a pumpkin. I go to sleep early. That's why I get up early. Okay? If you call me at 4:30 in the morning, believe me, I'll be up.
Some people have problems.
Yes, we do.
I can barely do it. Even if I went to sleep at 9 o'clock and woke up at 6, I still would feel tired.
Oh, I know. But you're a teenager, okay? It's a little different, all right? If I sleep from 8:30, 9 o'clock at night until 4:30. My husband wakes me up at 4:30. My alarm goes off at 4:45. So if I sleep that long, I've gotten 7.5 hours sleep. That's pretty good. Okay. All right, so here we go. Number 1. Okay, number 1.
2x squared.
So what we're going to do is this. Okay. Number 1 is 2x squared plus 7x plus 3. Now we're going to look at factors of a times c. What is a times c?
2 times 3.
2 times 3, which is 6. That wasn't too bad, was it? Okay. Now, what do we need here? We have all positives. Same rule applies that applied before. What do our factors need to be? Positives. So we need a positive times a positive. All right, so let's start factoring. 1 and 6 and 2 and 3. And that's about all we can do, right? Okay, so let's look at 1 and 6. If I do 1 times 6, when I add 1 and 6 together, do I get 7? Yes, everybody agree? Okay. 2 and 3 would not give me 7, would it? All right. So in this case, since it's 2 and 3, and they'll both go into 6, it really doesn't really matter. So we're just going to do this. We're going to do 2x squared plus 1x plus 6x plus 3. Same step as we did before. We're breaking apart our middle term. Okay? Now I'm going to break them down into binomials. And I've got 2x squared plus 1x. I'm showing the step. Normally I would just do this and then factor. Plus 6x squared plus 3. Okay. So now I need to factor this binomial. What can I pull out? An x, right? A 1x. That's all I can pull out. Okay? Can't pull the 2 out, only can pull a 1x. So I'm going to pull an x out, and that leaves me with x plus 1, doesn't it? So now the goal is I got to get the other one at x plus 1, don't I? What can I pull out there?
You got 2x.
I know, but, oh, 2x plus, you are so right.
I was so confused.
Yeah.
She
Thank
even
you.
said we can't pull the 2 out, and then she pulled it out.
I'm sorry. So I've got 2x plus 1. What can I pull out? Can I pull out a 3x or a 3? Just a 3. So plus 3 times, what am I going to have here?
How'd you get that 6 squared?
Oh my goodness. I am like not with it, am I, this morning? Thank you. So sorry.
Let's start calling Miss Bloody Mission.
I told you I'm scattered right now like you wouldn't believe. All right. So 6x divided by 3 gives me what? 2x. And 3 divided by 3 gives me plus 1, doesn't it? All right. So then I have x plus 3 times 2x plus 1. And I'm done, aren't I? Let's do a check. What?
So it's pretty much like it's pretty much
It
the same
can be,
thing.
but it gets kind of complicated in a while. All right, so it's the same kind of thing, but you just have a different different thing that you're doing here. So let's check. Let's see if x plus 3 times 2x plus 1 is going to give me my original polynomial. So x first is x times 2x, which is 2x squared. And then I have x times its outer, x times 1, which is plus 1x, 3 times 2, which is plus 6x, and 3 times 1, which is plus 3. Combine like terms, I end up with 2x squared plus 7x plus 3, and I check. It is good. So this is my answer right here. No big deal, right? Okay. Let's go to number 2. Looks interesting. I've got 11x squared minus 14x plus 3. So, what do I need factors of? Because,
11 times 30.
there you go. I need factors of 33. Okay. That when combined, I'm going to get a negative 14. I have a negative in the middle and a positive at the end. So what do I need?
Both negatives.
Both negatives. That's correct. So I need a negative times a negative. I'm going to remind myself. So I'm going to have 2 things that add together to make negative 14. So I'm going to start with 1 and 33. Is that going to work? And this is my suggestion. You just start at the beginning every time, then you go to 2. Will 2 go into 33? If you don't know, take a calculator. 33 divided by 2. 33 divided by 3. What's that? 11. Oh, 4. Well, look at this. If both of those are negative, what am I going to get?
Negative 14.
A negative 14, aren't I? Huh? So, I think I found my factors. This is from Miss Cortinas. Thank you. Okay? So, if I found my factors, I can do this. And now what I've got to look at, though, here is this. Okay? This is where I kind of tried to explain this yesterday. If I put 11x second, it's going to end up with 3, isn't it? Okay? If I put 3x first and break my negative 14x, because I'm going to break it into negative 3x and a negative 11x. Okay? We all agree about that, right? So this is where I need to make sure that I pair my factor with a number that I can pull from. Sometimes it's not going to make a difference. Other times it's going to make a huge difference. Because if I paired 11, if I put my 11x second, I'd end up with negative 11x plus 3 as a binomial. And can I factor anything out of negative 11x plus 3? No. Do you see that? it wouldn't help me at all. So what I need to do here is 11x squared minus 11x minus 3x plus 3. Okay? If I break them apart now, I've got these two and I've got these two, don't I? Okay? So here, what can I factor out? 11x. So I can pull 11x out of this one, and this divided by 11x gives me x, and this divided by 11x gives me what? Negative 1. Okay? Now remember, I need to end up with a negative here then, because I have a negative here, right? So, can I pull out a negative 3 or a positive 3? Which one do I want to pull out? Negative 3. So then I have plus, well, you could write the plus sign and then put negative 3 out here, or you could just put negative 3. It doesn't matter to me, okay? But I want to keep these things separate. That's why I did that, okay? So negative 3 leaves me a positive x. Positive 3 divided by negative 3 leaves me a negative 1. Now I have my two factors. What are my two factors? X minus 1 is one of them, yes. 11x minus 3. Do my check. X minus 1 times 11x minus 3, and I get 11x squared, and I get minus 3x minus 11x plus 3, and I get 11x squared minus 14x plus 3, which is definitely the same thing that I started with. Okay? So like I said, it gets a little more complicated, and then your numbers get a little bigger and a little more complicated. Okay? Let's look at number 3. Okay? Number 3 shouldn't be any big deal. Let's see. I guess I called it let's go to number 3. Okay? I'm trying to show you different things. I don't necessarily need to do everything here. Let's look where C is negative. Okay? So now I've got number 3. 2x squared plus 1x minus 3. So I need two factors of what? Negative 6, okay? Because when I take negative 3 times positive 2, I'm going to get negative 6. I need two factors of negative 6, and are they going to be positive, negative, 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 positive, positive? What are we going to do? Middle term is positive, last term is negative. What are we going to do?
A larger positive.
Okay, so we're going to have a larger pos times a smaller neg, just to remind myself, okay? And soon you won't even need to do that probably. I don't know, maybe you will, maybe you won't. So a larger positive, a smaller neg. So I'm going to start with 1. Negative 1 times 6. That's not going to give me a positive 1. Okay, then I've got negative 2 times 3. That 3 positive and negative 2 give me a positive 1, don't they? Okay, so now I'm going to look, and it does matter which ones I put with what, doesn't it? Okay, if I put the 3 and the 2 together, I'm going to have a hard time, aren't I? Okay, a harder time. Okay, it's still possible because I could pull the x out, and it'd be a mess though. So let's put the negative 2 with the 2x. So 2x squared minus 2x plus 3x minus 3. Everybody good? Okay. I'm going to pair them off. Okay. And I can pull out of here a 2x. And I end up with x minus 1 And here I can pull out do I want a positive 3 or a negative 3?
Positive.
So I'm going to pull out a 3, and I'm going to put x minus 1. And so, Hector, what are my two terms? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. 2x plus 3. Okay? So let's check it. X minus 1 times 2x plus 3. Also, your checks, you will be checking them, making sure that you're making wise choices, but it's also a practice in FOIL, which is awesome. So I get 2x squared first, and I have to do outer. It's plus 3x, and then I get inner, which is negative 2x, and then I get last negative 3. And this is positive, that's negative, so I'm going to end up with 2x squared plus x minus 3. It does check, so I know that this is my answer. Okay? Not too bad, right? Okay? Just a little more complicated, that's all. Number 5. Six x squared minus 17x plus 5. So now, two factors of what? 30. Okay. And what do I need? Positive, positive, negative, negative. What do I need? Negative, negative, because my third term is positive. Okay. So start with 1. 1 times 30. If I add those together, I get 31, don't I? 2. 2 times 15. If I add those together, a negative 2 and a negative 15, what do I get? Negative 17. There you go. So I got it. Which one do I want to put with what? Which am I going to put first? I'll say it that way. 2 or 15?
The 2.
The 2. Okay, and they're both negative. Remember that. Okay. So I've got 6x squared minus 2x minus 15x plus 5. Do you see how much more complicated it would be if you put that 15 first? Okay. It would be a mess. So I'm going to break them apart. I'm going to make sure and keep that sign.
Put the 15 first. That one would have been easier than doing the 2 and the 5.
You think so?
Because you can divide them by 3.
What do you mean 2 and 6?
Either way, it
Like
just,
you reverse-
to me, this,
Yeah.
in other words, if you would have, I'll show them what you mean, okay? All right, so here I can pull out 2x, right? And I end up with 3x minus 1 or plus 1? Minus 1, okay? Here I can pull out what? 5. Do you want it to be positive or negative? It has to be negative, okay? Negative 5, and I end up with 3x minus 1. And that's what I wanted, okay? I know I'm not showing you the math, but at this point, I hope you can do that math. All right, so I end up with 2x minus 5 times 3x minus 1. All right.
Order you write those two in?
No, it doesn't matter. Because you're going to get the same answer, right? If you flipped them. It's called what property of multiplication?
I never memorized those.
Me neither.
Like, I don't know.
You can flip-flop 5 times 6 is the same
Oh,
as 6
yeah.
times 5, right? Okay, doesn't matter. You get the same answer. Okay? You have to think of things. The thing about algebra is it's abstract. So if you bring it back to concrete terms, in other words, instead of looking at this as a abstract 2x minus 5, which is crazy, you don't know what that means. If you just say, okay, what is 5 times 6? two terms, okay? 6 times 5. Then it makes more sense. I always do that when I think about what I need to do or what can I do. Because if you take it from abstract to concrete, it's easier to deal with, okay? So let's look at something. He said it would have been easier if I put the negative 15 first. Let's see if that had happened. Sometimes you can make it work. Other times, Brandon, it just won't work, all right? So if I had done 6x squared minus 15x minus 2x plus 5. I get that 5 in there, okay? My lid is, there it is. So then split them off. He said it would have been easier to do this, okay? Can I pull something out of here? 3x. Okay? Now this is where you would have gotten confused. I'd end up with 2x minus 1. Okay? Right? Okay? Can I pull something out of here? Yeah, you can. You can always pull something out of there. No, I can't.
No,
It's what?
the first
Oh,
one.
it's minus 5. I'm sorry. Okay. Okay. Can I pull something out of the first one? Out of the second one.
The negative
The negative what?
sound.
Negative what?
1.
1. I can always pull a
I
1.
don't think we would've got the
They
same
always
thing.
have 1 in common, right? So whether it's a positive 1 or a negative 1, okay, I can always pull a 1. So if I pull a negative 1 out, I'd end up with positive 2x minus 5, wouldn't I? Then my two terms are 3x minus 1 times 2x minus 5. Oh, the same thing as what we got here, right? Okay. What if I'd done it this way? I want you to see this because this is an important key. 6x squared minus 15x. Okay, let's do this way. Yeah, 15x. Let's start right there. Times negative 2x plus 5. What if I decided, oh, I want to pull a negative 3 out of here? So negative 3x. Negative 3x. Okay, that would have left me here. Negative 2x plus 5, correct? Okay. Then here I would have pulled out a 1, not a negative 1, correct? Plus 1 times, that would have left me a negative 2x plus 5, right? Okay. So then I would have ended up with negative 3x plus 1 times negative 2x plus 5. But you say they're not the same.
But with negative times
But
negative,
watch this. Negative times a negative gives you positive 6x squared, doesn't it? Negative times that gives you negative 15x. Positive times a negative gives you negative 2x. Positive times a positive gives you plus 5.
We just go back to 5
You
plus
end up
5.
with this, which is what we started out with, right? So either way, and I would accept either answer, because all we did was flip-flop the negative sign from our, okay? Now, if you had pulled it down negative 3x plus 1 here and positive 2x minus 5 there, then we've got a problem, all right? But you see, there are different ways I always say this, and I say skin a cat, but in Texas I should say skin a deer. There are different ways at which you can come to the same conclusion. Does that make any sense to you?
My uncle says skin a
Okay.
skunk.
Oh, does he? Oh, that would be
I like it.
stinky.
That before.
I've done it.
Stinky! All right, let's keep going.
I'm gonna say skin.
All right, but that was a good point because here we've seen that a problem can be solved different ways. Now, to me, it was easier to do it when you keep your terms where you can really see what you're pulling. And you don't have to worry about, oh, yeah, I can pull out a negative 1. But occasionally that's going to come up. And so it was good to see that. All right? All right, here we go. Number 7. Special cases. 16x squared minus 49. All right, get your calculators working. 16 times 49 is what? Okay, can you imagine sitting here and trying to work out the factors of 784 that are going to cancel each other out on top of it? You'd be here for a long time, wouldn't you?
You just do 784 squared.
But that won't work,
The square root.
okay?
Y'all said, you said that won't work, and y'all said,
But what you can do, look at 16. Tell me about the number 16.
It's square.
Is it a perfect square?
Yes.
You need to know these things. So if you get stuck like this, try 16 squared and see if it's a perfect square. If you get a whole number, it's a perfect square. What is it?
Four.
4 times 4, isn't it? Right? Okay. What about 49? Is it a perfect square? You don't think so?
It's
I
seven.
did it 7 times 7.
7 times 7, isn't it? Look at, I've just now found my two factors. Now I got to figure out, this is called a perfect square trinomial. And what it is 4x minus 7 times 4x plus 7. And why is that? Because if you do 4x times 4x, you get 16x squared, don't you? Outside, 4x plus times 7, it gets you plus 28x, okay? Then these two, what does that get you? Negative 28 squared. And these two get you negative 49. These cancel out. You end up with 16x squared minus 49. Isn't that beautiful?
And 28 is
Easiest ones to work.
Is the first one
and 28 is the square root of 784.
Yes. What?
The square root of 784 is 28.
28. So that's what you're looking for your middle terms, but that doesn't help you out, does it? A whole lot. Except for you could know that these two factors have to be part of 28, right? 4 and 7 have to be, 4 times 7 is what? 28. So that helps. Number 8. So let's look at this one. 4x to the 4th minus 81y to the 6th. Ooh, look at that, huh? Now you got to use your thoughts about exponents, huh? Okay, so 4 times is 4 a perfect square?
Yes.
It's 2 times 2, isn't it? Okay. What about 81? 9 times 9. So we know this part of it. It's going to be a 2x to the something. Okay, and we know we're going to have a minus 9y to the something times 2x to the something plus 9y to the something. Now we got to think about what's going on here. When we multiply exponents, what happens? What do we actually do?
you just add.
We add them, right? So if I need to end up with 4, can't I do 2x squared and 2x squared? Because 2 plus 2 is 4, right? And 2 and 2 will give me 4, won't it? Okay. All right. What about 6? 3 and 3. So 3 and 3. And let's see if it works. 2x squared times 2x squared is 4x. And I add my 2 plus 2 and I get to the 4th, right? All right. 2x squared times 9y cubed gives me plus 18. Remember, it's alpha before, okay, alpha comes first. X comes before y. All right. Then I've got negative 9 times this, so I get negative 18x squared, y to the 3rd. Then I get negative 9 times positive 9, and I get negative 81y, and I add my exponents to the 6th. Okay? Now, if I cancel these out, I end up with 4x to the 4th minus 81y to the 6th. And so, how could you write this? How could you write this one up here instead? Because I told you it was a perfect square. Instead of writing it 4x, Can you-
4x
you
plus
can't-
7 square.
no, you can't, because look at one has a negative and one has a positive. Trick question. Okay, all right. Okay, let's do A. So let's just try it. Okay, 16x squared minus 1. Is 16 a perfect square?
Yes, there's
What is it?
4.
4 times 4, right? Is 1 a perfect square?
Yes.
1 times 1, right? Okay, so how are you gonna write your binomials?
4x. 16. 4x.
What? 4x what?
Minus 4.
Minus 1 times
4x plus 1.
plus 1. There you go. And you're done. Okay? Let's look at something that's just a little different. I want to look at 16x squared plus 1. You still have 2 perfect squares, don't you? Okay. 4 times 4, 1 times 1. But what are you going to have to do here? Can you write it as 2 perfect squares?
You'd have to leave it like that.
If I wrote it as 4x plus 1 times 4x plus 1, is that going to work? And if I put a negative sign in here, if I put a negative here to cancel out my middle terms, is that going to work?
So you have to
No. No. So is that going to work like that? No, I got to have 2 factors of 16 that are going to cancel each other out, don't I? Negative 4 and 4, huh? So that strategy isn't going to work, is it? Okay? So you can't do that strategy, because if you did that strategy, you'd end up with 16x squared plus 8x plus 1, and that isn't the original. So no, it doesn't work. Okay? Just so you know, beware. You've got to have a negative sign in the middle. Okay? In order to have a perfect square, you have to have a negative sign. You may end up in a situation where you end up with prime. Okay?
So it's not considered
All right. Nope. Okay. No, because is it prime? Let's see. Can we work it out? 16x squared plus 1. 16x squared plus 1. We'd have to have 2 factors of 16 that'll cancel each other out. We already know it's negative 4 and 4, right? So 16x squared minus 4x plus 4x plus 1. Right?
Bless your papers, I can't review.
I'm sorry. So, do this, and I end up with 4x out, and I end up here with what? 4x minus 1. If I pull 4x out here, can't do that. I can pull a 1 only, right? 1. And then I end up with 4x. I'd have to pull a negative 1, wouldn't I? I'd have to pull a negative 1 out, and that would make this a negative. That's not going to work. How am I going to make this work?
You pulled out a negative 4.
What?
You put out negative 1.
If I pulled out a negative 4, this would make this a negative, and this a positive. If I pull out a negative 1 here, then this is a negative. So can I work this out?
No.
Is it possible?
No.
Okay? If you ever end up with 2 perfect squares and a positive sign in the middle, you're going to have prime. And I believe there's even a test question like that. Okay? So, that's that. Stop my recording here. Because you don't want to hear me go on and on and on.